Hi, everyone. Welcome to the fifth episode of Comic Monitors. I'm here with Darnell Henriquez and returning guest Will Stevenson. We are going to be discussing superhero video games from Superman 64 to Injustice 2 and beyond. So, how are you guys doing?
I'm
Superman
swell.
64 net Superman 64 did 9/11.
Yeah. So, the first topic I'd like to bring up, what is the first superhero video game you guys can remember playing?
Well, you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, the first one I remember is the Spider-Man game for the PlayStation 1 by what was I can't remember. It was published by
Activision.
Activision published, and it was actually pretty decent. Like it wasn't deeper, wasn't particularly difficult. I just played on easy mode all the time, and I didn't have a memory card for most of the time I was playing it, but still it was fun. It was fun. The web slaying was fun. Combat was kind of but it felt it really captured the spirit of Spider-Man very well.
Ironically, the exact same game, but for the PC.
Oh, how was it on PC?
Try being like less than 5 and trying to play this with a keyboard. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that I played it with my older cousin who was 12 at the time, so he actually had more brain function than me. Like, we only got to Carnage, to the introduction of Carnage. That's how far we got. That's how I remember.
Oh, well, still,
I
like
had to
I'm.
wait until like I was 15 to actually beat the game.
Yeah, believe it or not, I might have the exact same answer as you guys. I think I played very briefly the PC Spider-Man game on a library computer when I was 6 or 7. The first one I can vividly remember playing was the I think the Incredibles game for the Game Boy. Not even a not even a major console, just the Game Boy. I liked it when I was very young. It's probably dated now.
I actually remember playing the Incredibles games on the GameCube.
I remember playing the Incredibles game on the PlayStation 2. It was decent. It was for a movie tie-in game. It could have been a lot worse, but it actually managed to
The
be
Flash
fun.
segment, I mean, the Dash segment was actually really fun, from what I remember.
The
Also, one I
best
kept repeating over and over.
It's the best Flash game you'll ever get.
Mhm. Yeah, I only had the Game Boy version, and I mean, it was fine for a Game Boy game. Very simplistic, obviously, but for what it was, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, The Incredibles was all the shit when I was growing up. So, are there any other games from I don't know your childhoods, I guess, that you remember playing?
I remember a Daredevil game for the Game Boy, and a different Spider-Man game for the Game Boy, and Spider-Man, like the Spider-Man One game based off of the Sam Raimi film that came out, and the best one, Spider-Man Two for the PlayStation Two. Like those are the games I remember the most.
Um, Similarly to what Will said, but I also Superman 64, as well as the Punisher game itself, which I still to this day do not know how I even got my hands on a copy of that game.
How? Yeah, I was gonna say you had to have been like I can't. I don't know how old you must have been, but I couldn't have been old enough
No,
to
like I
get.
was like 12. I was like 12 because it was on the PlayStation. No, it's on the Xbox. I remember. I think I got rented it or borrowed it from a friend, and it had to be like borrowed from a friend because there's no way I could have. My mom would have ever bought it for me. But
I
it's like, yeah, like this was when I was still like that was one of my first introductions to the Punisher, and I was like, I think that was what got me on my anti-Punisher crusade.
that I remember the closest I ever got to that game was watching footage of it on GameStop back when I was like 10 or something, and I was 10 or at most, and like I was like, this is the most violent thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I played a lot of Spider-Man games, but I don't think I actually owned any because when I was younger, I actually went to Blockbuster a few times, and I feel 100 years old saying that. But I like to rent Spider-Man games from Blockbuster, like the movie games. I enjoyed them when I was younger, but they probably don't hold up so well nowadays. There was one called Spider-Man Friend or Foe. Again, probably doesn't hold up too well, but when I was a kid, it was fine. The ones I have really fond memories of are Marvel Ultimate Alliance and the X-Men Legends games. I think those ones do hold up very well nowadays. They had a pretty great gameplay setup. I think.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd really like to see another Marvel game with kind of that setup, sort of like almost like a MOBA, where it's like, you know, you got a large cast of characters. You choose a team of 4. You can switch between them in the field. They all have their like unique powers and stuff. I think those games were really well put together, and I've heard they, I guess, think they did a re-release of Ultimate Alliance. I might want to check that out.
They did.
Yeah, I might want to look into that. So
do it for the consoles. Don't do it on the PC.
Okay. But yeah, I really like those games. A lot better than Spider-Man 3, the movie game. So
I never played that.
I did.
Like
I
Spider-Man
played it for
2.
the PS4. I mean, I played it for the PS3 and for the PS2. Oh god, it's like the different console you get changes the game drastically.
Yeah, I had PS2, and then that was back when being a PlayStation owner was shameful compared to the Xbox. But now it's the other way around. I always get the wrong console.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know, Matt has an Xbox One, which he bought because why, Matt?
Because I didn't have a job at the time. I was spending a lot of money on college, and I wanted the cheapest console possible. It was before they cost the same price.
Why didn't you just get a Wii U? That had to have been cheaper than an Xbox One.
Well, I don't want to buy a literal piece of shit just because it's cheaper. I'd like an actual game console as opposed to a joke.
Well, let's be fair. Like the Wii U has more games that I'd like that looks like I'd enjoy than the Xbox One, like Bayonetta 2, Monster Hunter, Super Smash Brothers. I'm not much of a
Any
Nintendo.
of the Legend of Zelda games?
Oh yeah, like the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker remaster. I've always wanted to play that game properly, but I could probably just emulate it on my PC too. So I guess what's the point? But we're getting sidetracked.
But so going off from what Matt says, so now I'm guessing we're going more into the teenage years. Yeah, for me, my more memories was like Matt said, the Marvel Ultimate Alliance games, Ultimate Spider-Man on the GameCube. Once again, the Arkham games, you know, Arkham Asylum when I was like 13, I think it was, and then what was the? Oh yeah, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions, and then so on and so on.
Yeah, so if you want to get into the Arkham games, how do you guys feel about that series overall?
I I at least love the first 2. I've never played Origins. I thought Knight's decent, but a bit of a disappointment. But Asylum and City are 2 of the best games of last generation. City is one of my favorite games of all time. Like
City definitely makes my top 5.
Yeah, like Arkham Asylum, like I've probably played that one the most, but I was younger, and I think when you're younger, you are okay with repetition a little more. But Asylum just had this great atmosphere, and like it just captured the whole spirit of the gothic Batman and the setting of Arkham Asylum so perfectly. And City took everything that was great about it and upped the ante. I've been replaying it for the past 2 days. It still holds up. It's still like Corey Burton as Hugo Strange is great. It's one of Mark Hamill's best performances as the Joker, and it's got a great story too. A lot of City's more open world than Asylum, and a lot of open world games can kind of suffer in the story department because of their open-ended nature. But no, it's got a fantastic story. It's got one of the best Batman stories ever, I'd argue, in any medium.
For me, the way I always saw the Arkham games, Asylum is pretty much what would have happened if the you know animated series essentially like got Nolanized. If that you get what I'm trying to say, like it got
I get
more
that.
like the more mature thing, because like I said, they got all the voice actors from the well, not all, but like a good chunk of the voice actors from the anime series to do this, and it kind of just feels like it was just like, hey, and this is the future episodes that you didn't see of the animated series.
That's what made it so great. It felt
Um,
like you were watching Christopher Nolan, like a mixture of Batman the Animated Series and if Nolan and some Tim Burton got
yeah,
involved.
and then City is just it's just like the best of the originals, like as an original plot, so on and
Yeah,
so on. Like it does a very well, not very great. I mean, like I think personally for me, all of them kind of in their own way do the villain as well. Um, Origins, I do have a soft spot for because it's very based off Year One, which is probably one of my favorite Batman stories, and the way it uses the villains for me is probably my favorite because it's like I like Deathstroke, I like Deadshot, Black Mask, Lady Shiva. Like I really like the villains in that one, but more because it feels more like personal. Like there's some more of a focus on them and like the way they are all kind of like specific. Like because it's it's Batman fighting the assassins, and I don't know. I always felt more like it's story wise. There's more of a pressure. Like he's surrounded by the villains in this one more than he was in the previous ones, and then not so much in Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight, I feel like there's more of a pressure, but I don't know, like I feel like it really embodied the idea of Year One perfectly in Arkham Origins, even if everything else was kind of a little bit more faulty. And then Knight, it tried to do a lot of things. Some of it succeeded, some of it didn't.
what do you think, Matt? What's your experience with the Arkham games?
I was gonna say I kind of see them like roughly as a parallel to the Nolan films. Like Asylum is kind of like Batman Begins. Obviously, Asylum is not by no means an origin story, but I feel like it was just meant to like set the tone of the series. It was like kind of a smaller scale, more self-contained story. Just try meant to establish something, like see what they could do with this new direction. Just kind of set everything up, and then City was the height of the franchise. That's the one where they really went all out with like the great ideas and the creativity and the epic feel. I can't say enough positive things about City. It's got probably the best version of Catwoman in any medium. I mean, I liked Catwoman so much in that game that I enjoyed playing as her more than Batman even. Um, I loved the Joker in that game. I thought they did a great job with him. Obviously, the gameplay was amazing.
Yeah. One thing that I should also talk about is it actually made some of the more unpopular Batman villains scary, like Riddler's like this Jigsaw like.
Oh yeah, Riddler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and Penguin. Nolan North voiced Penguin.
Or also, and not just that, also Mad Hatters. It's just like
He's
like the Batman screaming and looking like a weird, distorted rabbit.
Yeah, I almost forgot about the Mad Hatter segment.
Oh, that was so trippy. Like I can't believe they like some of the stuff they did in that game. Like there's no I you kind of had to know that after that they were never going to be able to, like after City they were going to have their work cut out for them. It'd be nearly impossible to top themselves.
They tried. They did try their asses off in Arkham Knight to top that, and you cannot top that Mad Hatter sequence. It's probably the trippiest, most WTF moment in anything Batman, except maybe Batman White Knight. That's probably more WTF.
I'm going to stay away from that.
I hope they make a game out of Batman White Knight.
That it is so stupid on its face. Like Joker can't be the hero in any medium. He has no moral high ground whatsoever.
No, actually, because Matt and I were talking about another story they already did where the Joker actually did went insane. It's called Go Insane. But the whole point is actually like, okay, I won. What do I do now? And it is not like this moralizing thing. It's just like the adaptation of what do you do when a character that, like you said, has no morals do.
Yeah, but
But this seems to be more like, oh, the writer essentially implanting himself into what I think and what I don't like about the Batman series, which is like,
But yeah, getting back to City, it was really nice playing a game that felt so large scale and with an epic tone that didn't feel forced. Didn't feel like it was like trying to one up itself constantly. It just felt like everything in that game felt justified. Like it did feel like a genuinely important epic story without trying ridiculously hard to do so, which is kind of a problem I had with Knights. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else about City to point out. I would have liked to see a bit more of a Batman supporting cast, like Robin and Nightwing. I think Nightwing was only in the game at all because of DLC, and he didn't actually say anything besides like grunts. So that was a bit of a letdown. But yeah, again, I can't say enough positive things about Arkham City. Then getting on to Arkham Knights, I agree with the majority of people on Knights. It's a decent game. It's by no means bad. I think that if you enjoyed the first two Arkham, well, I haven't played Origins, so I have no thoughts on that one.
I will say this, like I said, the villains, the parts where you actually go after the villains are probably the best part of the entire game. Like the fight scene against Deathstroke, I like nothing has ever before or after kind of compare myself to it. Like it's just like this is why I absolutely just hate the Deathstroke part in Arkham Knight, because it's like the idiots in Montreal did a like just amazing thing with a game that not a lot of people even like. And you guys fucking put Deathstroke, a master assassin, on a tank.
That was so stupid.
Yeah, they turned Deathstroke into Tank Girl.
Yeah, like
Tank Stroke.
Like my thoughts on Knight are basically it starts out really strong. Like the first couple of hours of the game are near perfect. Then it starts getting repetitive. The plot begins to just sort of jump all over the place without moving anywhere, and it just eventually starts falling down.
Yeah, it is very much the Dark Knight Rises of the series, where it's not exactly bad. I mean, I'd still recommend it to people. It's trying its ass off to be like, this epic conclusion to this badass series, but it just falls flat because these people who know how to tell a pretty good story, they just, for some reason, they don't know how to conclude it properly. It ended on I feel, a needlessly ambiguous note. A lot of the villains were very disappointing. A lot of the portrayals of the supporting cast were disappointing. Like you said, very repetitive. I mean, I didn't hate the Batmobile as much as some people did. I did get a lot of satisfaction about like tearing around in the Batmobile, like Grand Theft Auto, just driving into stuff, like improbably driving into criminals and not killing them because of that weird like electric field surrounding it.
I didn't really use it to drive around. Like the most I would do is I drive around, then I just hop out of it with my gliding out of it. Gliding around the city is a lot quicker than using the Batmo.
Oh, I know. On missions and stuff, like yes, I did like use the ejector seat thingy, but because I have an appetite for destruction, I did really enjoy just driving into stuff constantly, driving into other cars. Grand Theft Auto, I'm a Grand Theft Auto fan, but
And for me, sorry, go ahead, Matt.
Oh, you can go ahead.
For me, I was going to say, probably for me, the biggest thing that I was kind of about for Arkham Knight is just like the fact that it's like the season of Infamy was so like, why didn't you put such a focus on this? Because this was where like you guys said, the villains were kind of disappointing until you get to the season of Infamy, and like Why did you put all your best writing here? Like Ra's al Ghul should have been part of the main game. Victor Freeze should have been part of the main game. Hell, even Killer Croc was better written than like most of the side villains in the in the base game.
Yeah, and I want to say, I am a big fan of Scarecrow. I was very excited when I heard that he was going
Same
to.
here.
Oh, he was like, I'm gonna defend Scarecrow in Arkham Knight. I think that's the best portrayal of him ever.
I mean,
I love the voice they got for him.
sorry,
I love his voice. I love his design. I love how he managed to just come. He kind of won in the end, sort of. This is it was the most threatening and competent version of that character.
I mean, again, I was excited when Scarecrow was supposed to be one of the main villains of the game. I liked him a lot in Asylum. I thought he was pretty terrifying in that game when I played it. But I just feel that his portrayal in Arkham Knight fell kind of flat. It's just, I can't even really put my finger on why. I guess his dialogue was just too generic.
For me, I think I know why. So, like I said, like when you look at Scarecrow's plot and what he did and how he did everything, like Will's right. This is the most competent Scarecrow. He's terrifying. But for me, it's almost like he's not really Jonathan Crane's Scarecrow. He's not the villain. He's not someone that's like viewing this and like he's enjoying all the fear and the madness that's going around. I mean, he does this all on Halloween night for fuck's sakes. But it kind of sounds like with the way the dialogue kind of went and everything, he's kind of broken. Like the most he becomes Scarecrow is by the end when he's stabbing Batman and he's stabbing the Robins with with the fear toxin. It's like that's the most Scarecrow-y part. But then after that, it kind of sounds like this is a man that's kind of just like broken and having to breathe through an oxygen tube because of all the, it doesn't feel like Scarecrow.
Yeah, what it kind of reminds me of, and I just thought of this, it's kind of like Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, where he did all this gnarly stuff, but he seemed completely disinterested in it and disconnected with it. I mean, like the appeal of Freddy, and I think the Scarecrow most of the time is that he genuinely enjoys doing all this scary fucked up stuff and being like the master of fear and manipulating people. But in Arkham Knight, he just seemed indifferent. It felt like he was doing all this fucked up shit because he felt like he had to, as opposed to enjoying it. So Arkham Knight Scarecrow felt kind of heartless overall, kind of like the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. And that's a very, very harsh comparison, I know. But and then getting on to the other main villain of the game, how many scenes did? By the way, we're getting into spoiler territory. If you don't want plot points of Arkham Knight spoiled, pause the video for 2 minutes, please.
Air quotes spoiler.
Yeah. Okay. Pause the video for 2 minutes. How many scenes did it take you guys to figure out that the villain was Jason Todd?
I knew from the fucking time they announced the character when he says old man. And I'm like, who the fuck in the Batman's Rogue Gallery would call him an old man?
Yeah, like even before I played the game, when I saw the design for Arkham Knight, and it's I don't know, kind of playing up the whole mysterious who is this guy angle, and sounds like Jason Todd. And then from the very first scene, I'm just it's Jason Todd, isn't it?
I was hoping that they the first scene you knew when he says you can't imagine what he did to me, and I was thinking that's Jason Todd. It probably is, but I hope they don't go that route. But then when later in the game, when you're in the movie theater and Batman is having these hallucinations about the Joker torturing Jason Todd, then that pretty much just confirmed it.
My favorite part is the part where it's like you have to go into the police department. You have to go to the police department the first time, you meet the Arkham Knight. I was watching a friend of mine in college play it. He knows a little bit about Batman, the animated, he knows the animated things, yada yada. He's seen all the movies and so on, so on. He's known by means he's read the comics, but he turns to me because he knows I play this game and I'm a big Batman fan. He turns and says, "Tell me the truth. Is Jason Todd the Arkham Knight?" And I just have to go, yeah. It's wow, I couldn't believe that I knew it this quickly. Because he was only like 2 hours into the game.
Yeah, and they made it so obvious that I gave them the benefit of the doubt. And I was expecting them to play a bait and switch for it to turn out to be someone completely different by the end. Like, I don't know, Damien or Thomas Wayne or something. I would have respected that if they just pulled a complete bait and switch, but no.
Or Prometheus.
Yeah, I don't think he's popular enough to make a.
I mean, it would have made more sense, like someone that's trying to copy Batman.
Yeah, but again,
like that, like you saying the twist, that would have been okay. You know what? At least it's not Jason Todd.
I know, but again, he's not that popular. But you're right. At least it would have been more surprising than Jason. And on top of that, he was kind of annoying. I guess he was in character for the most part, but I have some reservations about Jason overall. I think he can easily be an obnoxious character.
Yeah, you want to go out and get something to eat?
I mean, for me, the whole point of Jason is that he's supposed to be more vigilante villain than, just overall villain. So it's kind of like, I mean, I get it that the whole story, the whole point of the Arkham Knight story is that the Joker kind of broke him overall, but it's like, you gotta get what I mean.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess he was just too one note. He just came off as constantly angry and petulant over the time. He didn't have a lot of depth. And that's like an issue with the main villains in Arkham Knight. They just didn't have much depth. You had Scarecrow, who was just kind of like this generic mustache twirly villain, and then Jason, who was just angry and pissed off and petulant all the time. So I feel like they really failed in the villains department. And then we already talked about Tank Stroke. Deathstroke just rides around in a tank all the time. And then at the end, he jumps out and gets taken down with one punch, which is ridiculous.
Harvey Dent barely makes it in. I mean, like, I literally had to just, like, take off the controller so I could just hear Harvey Dent's speech at the end when you do stop all the bank heists. And then I didn't even realize that I took down Harvey Dent at the beginning when I just started to do, like, all the cinematic takedowns. So I was like, wait, where's Harvey? And it's like, oh, he was the first guy I took down.
Yeah, like Two-Face is one of my favorite Batman villains. He's like probably in my top 3. So I was really pissed by how little he appeared.
He's my second favorite villain, so...
Of course he's your second favorite villain.
Fuck off. You really think I'm going to give him the Magneto spot?
No, but I mean, you Two-Face is your second...
I know. I deliberately did that as a joke.
Okay. But, what was I going to say?
It's the same reason why Dr. Doom's my 4th.
Okay.
Oh, come on. You don't get that one?
I get it. You are such a nerd.
Fuck off.
But,
that's the guy with the fucking Young Justice as his fucking banter.
Okay, but, I do not recall Mr. Freeze in making an appearance. I mean...
Season of Infamy. He's a DLC character.
Oh, DLC. I didn't play the DLC. Was Penguin in the main game?
Yes.
I don't remember him.
That's how you play as Nightwing.
Okay. And then I think there was a Hush storyline in the game.
Yeah, that's Lucius Fox.
Yeah. But one credit I will give the game, I did like the Riddler segments. I mean, some of them were a bit too frustrating, but I did enjoy
I never complete those segments.
Oh.
My favorite is the Miracle of Sound song with his song I Am the Night, and his fucking fuck you to the racists is the Riddler segments in that is like, this riddle is just a race.
Yeah. But I mean, I did kind of enjoy them. They were somewhat creative for a Batman game. And then but getting into my main gripe with the game, I mean, not so much the gameplay, but with the story, they treated Batman supporting cast like shit in that game. I mean, like a bunch of mainstream publications jumped on the game and said it was sexist because it treated all the female characters so badly, and that made me so angry because I'm like, they treated everyone badly. They turned like Robin into a little bitch, and it was Tim Drake Robin, who's my favorite, so that really got on my nerves. Nightwing fared slightly better because at least he didn't finish off the game with a bullet in his chest, but again, he was just kind of a dumbass in distress. Catwoman, again, fared slightly. Everyone fared better than Robin, but she did feel kind of weak overall. Even if she did get to kick ass, she spent most of the game with the explosive collar around her neck. The she couldn't even leave that one building for most of the game. I don't really.
Commissioner Gordon.
Oh yeah, Gordon. He was so useless in that game. I don't remember any Gordon scenes besides him like tied up in that chair like a baby.
And shooting. And
Yeah, he
then
just,
shooting
like,
Batman.
Yeah, he just gets like he just disappears early on in the game and never shows up again. And
Barbara.
Yeah,
why did you say that name?
yeah. I think the only supporting characters who got an okay treatment in that game were Barbara Gordon as Oracle and Poison Ivy. I know a lot of people were disappointed with how she turned out, but I was fine with it. Like, again, getting into spoiler territory, they gave her a heroic sacrifice, which I'm fine with.
This one makes sense because she did it to save plants.
Yeah,
Like, if it was to save people, okay, that's kind of the end. But it's like, okay, she did it to save the plants. That kind of makes more sense.
Well,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
does it to save the plants and humanity, and everyone is like,
But
maybe
did
she
it
was
to
more
save humanity, so not to save the plants. Like, the overall point, she still does it for the plant. You can still see, like, her intentions are the plant. It's like, okay, this is still consistent with her character.
Yeah, because I don't think anyone will complain about Poison Ivy working with Batman or other heroes if it involves protecting plant life. Like, it doesn't really betray, like you said, it doesn't betray our character. So okay,
Will, we can kind of hear like a wind coming from your mic.
yeah.
Let me try to fix that.
Mhm.
Is it better?
Yeah, we can't hear anymore now.
Okay.
But I think I've said my 2 cents about the Arkham games. Anyone else have comments?
No, like I said, for me, it's like, oh, and Will, the wind is still going.
Crap. No, well, I'll try to fix it. But my final thoughts are that's it. For the most part, pretty good. For the most part, great series of games. Just sort of a disappointing end. Hope Rocksteady makes some more superhero games, like a Superman game from them would probably be a great idea.
I mean, for me, the joke I always say is just now do Green Arrow and then just copy the Tomb Raider games.
But okay, moving on from that. Now let's talk about the worst superhero games you've ever played.
All right, somebody else go first. I kind of want to collect my thoughts.
I haven't played a lot of bad. I haven't played like Superman 64 or anything. Superman 64 or anything, but I did play a Batman Begins movie tie-in game, and like looking back, it was not very good. It was like a poor man's version of the Arkham games.
Okay, no, I actually got it. The one I can right now think that is like probably one of the most recent is for me has to be either Amazing Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man Edge of Tomorrow.
By Edge of Tomorrow, do you mean Edge of Time?
Yeah, Edge of Time. Your fucking Tom Cruise joke fucking now has the name just swept in my brain.
Yeah, I said, why couldn't it be the Tom Cruise Edge of Tomorrow than this shitty Spider-Man game?
Anyway, yeah, so for me, it's those two games. But, like, for me, because, okay, so Matt's seen footage of the Amazing Spider-Man 1 game, which is kind of a little decent. It's not amazing, but it's still playable. It plays like the Arkham. It's an Arkham clone that is done well because it's Spider-Man, so it kind of makes sense that he be doing stealthy things. The web swings are right. But then you go to Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh, no, it was
Holy
Amazing Spider-Man 2. It was the second one.
Yeah. Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah.
But then it goes and it wets the bed horribly. Like, you go Kingpin, Electro, Black Cat, the Shocker, with no rhyme or reason almost. Like it's almost as messed up as the movie itself, which is kind of an achievement. And then it's like the only thing I think I remember people were praising and said this one actually like you would whiz swing left and right like in the Amazing like the Spider-Man 2 game, but then that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I can't recall playing any truly horrible superhero games because I'm very selective with my purchasing. But I did watch quite a bit of Let's Play footage in preparation for this video. So if you're willing to listen to the opinion as someone who hasn't actually played the game but has seen gameplay of it, I can agree that Amazing Spider-Man 2 looks like a piece of shit. It's like some of the laziest, crappiest gameplay ever. It looks like it was made, even by movie game standards, it looks like it was made a decade ago. Like I also watched the Green Lantern movie game, and again, it doesn't look very good. But at least it's.
Why do I keep forgetting these games? No, okay, scratch that. Green Lantern game. Because you want to know what the Green Lantern game was?
Yeah, it was basically just the exact same level over and over again. You just keep going to all these platforms, and then like killing a bunch of robots with your ring, and then it might give
God of War style, and that when God of War was still popular, and then you have these weird arcadey sequences with How is Sinestro. like things like you ever wanted to play fucking Life Force or what's that other like space game where you fly around and shoot stuff? Star Fox. You ever wanted to play like a 2D not 2D, but like a low rate Star Fox with the Green Lanterns? Fucking pick up Green Lantern Rise of the Manhunters.
Yeah, and I want to say when doing research for this video, most Let's Players are insufferable. Like I mean, if you want to like watch Let's Plays for like a very popular game, like I don't know, in Metal Gear Solid or something, there are plenty of good channels to choose from. But if you want something obscure, like a movie licensed game from 6 years ago, then the people you're stuck with are very obnoxious. Like for the Green Lantern game, this guy was like, Green Lantern is one of my least favorite superheroes ever because his powers come from a ring. How lame is that? A ring. That is so lame. And then he's like, okay, I know Sinestro is supposed to be a villain, so why is he a Green Lantern in this?
Someone needs to do the research.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, as I was saying, yeah, the Green Lantern game looked very shitty gameplay-wise, but I mean, at least it was fairly visually competent for a movie licensed game around that time. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 game looked like it was made more than a decade ago. They really half-assed on the visuals, especially the visuals, but everything was lame. The swinging was horrible. The fighting was horrible. The Spider-Peter looks nothing like Andrew Garfield in it, which is...
They couldn't even get the rights to fucking what's her name, the woman that did.
Emma Stone.
Stacey. They couldn't even get the rights to like get Emma Stone, so they had to say that she went off to college. Like you know how like in the second movie, like a big part was like Peter trying to make her so that she wouldn't go to college off in England, and that's what got her killed.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet.
In the movie, in the game, it's essentially, oh yeah, she did go to England.
So I guess she's still alive in the game universe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, at least there's that. But yeah, like Peter looks nothing like Andrew Garfield, which, depending on who you are, that's either great or terrible.
To me, it's terrible.
To consider the fact that it's a movie licensed game, you kind of missed the ballpark there.
Yeah, it could have been improved by his handsome mug. But the thing I've noticed about like a lot of these, most of these Spider-Man games, is they're all kind of the same. It's just like Spider-Man swinging around New York, fighting a bunch of villains that were never actually in the movie. There's not a lot of variety to them. And Darnell, you might hate me for this, but from what I've seen, Edge of Time actually looked like kind of an improvement over them because at least it was doing something different. It wasn't just swinging around.
No, okay. Here's where the problem is. Because Edge of Time was supposed to be the sequel to fucking Shattered Dimensions. Now, Shattered Dimensions was pretty much, it literally is where fucking Dan Slott got the inspiration for Spider-Verse. because it is literally the web of time, the spider dimensions are all broken, and four Spider-Men from different dimensions that were already made and were already popular have to now join together and travel across the multiverse to pretty much rebuild their universes. Sound familiar, Matt?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does.
So you had four Spider-Man to choose from. You had the Amazing Spider-Man, voiced by Neil Patrick Harris. You had Spider-Man 2099, voiced by the guy who did Spider-Man in the '90s cartoon. You had Spider-Man Noir, who was voiced by who was it? I think it was the MTV Spider-Man show. And then you had the Ultimate Spider-Man, who wore the black suit, who was voiced by Drake Bell.
Drake Bell.
And then it was essentially like all four of them had different fighting styles. So main universe Peter fought with his webs. So like all of his punches and like all of his combos use like webbing, so like extreme proportions, and everything looked like kind of just comic book shell shaded, but also kind of normal. No, everything looked normal, only with a few shell shading. 2099 was very futuristic, but also much more like high speed, and you would jump around and fly and like free flow everywhere. Noir was essentially like the Arkham games, where it's like you have to be more stealthy because this Spider-Man couldn't web swing, and he was also just much weaker. And then the Ultimates, you're just using the Venom suit and you're raging at everything. And like the big part is the game felt unique and different. And, like all the levels felt like essentially you're the same thing because you're trying to get to the end of the level, but also at the same time they did still feel different. Whereas Edge of Time, it's literally you stop at a door, you fight enemies, said door opens, and like almost even like the villains didn't even feel that like different in Edge of Time in comparison to Shattered Dimensions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it didn't. From what I could see, it didn't look great or anything. In fact, it reminded me more of like, I don't know, one of those newer Sonic the Hedgehog games than a proper Spider-Man game. But at the very least, it felt it wasn't just him swinging around New York fighting a bunch of generic villains with some half-assed movie plot spliced in. At least it was different from what I was seeing. But if you guys are there any other spectacularly bad superhero games you'd like to mention before we move on?
Ghost Rider, maybe?
There was a Ghost Rider game?
Yes. And
no.
It is like, once again, like you know how like I said, Green Lantern was essentially God of War, but with when I was at its highlight. This is like at its very beginning when like nobody still even knew like how to get it right. So like just imagine trying to fight with the whip, and like it's kind of like janky and slow.
Oh, that reminds me. Are either of you familiar with the Catwoman movie game?
I know it exists. I'm not. That's all I want to know about it.
I'm not talking. I'm not talking. I have seen the two best friends play, and that's all I needed to see.
Yeah, it's probably. I think it's a candidate for the worst superhero game ever, aside from this century at least. I mean, Superman 64 probably is the absolute worst, but the Catwoman movie game, it is just the shittiest platforming, the shittiest combat mechanics I have ever seen. It looks like it was coded by paraplegic 6-year-olds. Everything about it is horrible. But to its credit, the CGI in the game is only a slight downgrade from the CGI in the actual film. So I think that's worth pointing out. That the visuals are only slightly less impressive than the movie that it was based on, which is kind of an accomplishment. But I can't say anything else positive about Catwoman, the movie game. So, if we've talked about all the, anyone have thoughts on Superman 64 before we move on? It's kind of like the elephants in the room.
I'm not too familiar with it. It looks a bit pretty bad though.
Yeah, basically the entire game is just you play Superman. It came out in 1999, but it doesn't look like 1999. Basically, the game is just you fly through a bunch of rings, and then there's a level where you have to pick up cars, like a couple of cars, and then you fly through more rings. And if you fail to fly through all the rings, the fail state says Lex wins. And it's like somehow
because the plot. Okay, because here's the plot of it. So the plot is Lex and Brainiac send Superman into this virtual world where he has all these trials in order to win. And like I said, the whole point is because it's just like, hey, more rings. And like that big thing about the cars, the whole point is you're supposed to save the people in the cars. One of the ways you can actually win that thing is by picking up the car and then just throwing it. Like you imagine Superman like, don't worry, I will save you. Thunk.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm gonna have to leave the stream early, so it's been fun, but I'll have to bow out. I had a great time. Thank you.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Thanks for appearing. Have a nice day.
You too.
But so continuing on. Wait, Matt, you're still here, right?
Of course I am.
Okay, because I see the will thing up on the will sign up at the top instead of your icon. But anyway, like I said, you don't get any context of this on the story until you read the comic that was supposed to come in the original box for it.
So basically what you're telling me is like the whole game takes place in a virtual world, so there's no stakes at all.
A kryptonite fog, which is why Superman doesn't have any of his powers. Like, you know how like in the Spider-Man, like in that old Spider-Man game, there was a giant fog throughout the city, which was like, why? Like, oh, well, we can't show how crappy the game is, so let's put a fog in it.
Yeah, I recall that.
In Superman 64, it's a kryptonite fog, which is why Superman can't fly as fast or as high. Even though kind of logic goes, it's kryptonite.
Yeah, and the thing I really like about, that really cracked me up about that game is how Superman has a punching move, even though there don't appear to be any actual enemies in the game.
No. That's by the end. Like, by the end, you fight General Zod and Brainiac and that sort of thing. But, like, it's the ending of the game. And also, to get the actual true ending, you have to beat it on the hard difficulty. If you beat it on the easy, Lex escapes.
Okay, so if that's all there is to say about Superman 64, do you want to get into the Injustice games?
I kind of wanted to go because I kind of wanted to talk about the Ultimate Alliance games because that was kind of like that is pretty much the bread and butter. Like we went from Arkham Knight. We went from the Arkham games to this. Now I kind of feel like maybe we should give a bone to like one good Marvel franchise.
Okay.
You already kind of talked about your love for the
X-Men Legends
games. Yeah, X-Men Legends.
Okay, we can talk about Ultimate Alliance. I've only played the first one. I played a little bit of the second one at a friend's house.
So I think about as much as you're a fan of X-Men Legends, I was a huge fan of the Ultimate Alliance games.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I love the first one. The second one is big swash for me because I love the first one literally up until the nuclear power plant. Like it was just almost so perfect for me where it's like this embodies everything about what made the Civil War comic great until after nuclear power plant, and then they just go off the rage and it's like, oh, that the scene of the what I like to call the square down in downtown, which is where Cap and Tony do their last fight, not there, and all those like that whole whose side do you pick, that sort of thing. Now that's completely gone because now you can play as all the heroes and everybody's united. And the ending, it literally at the fucking bottom of the screen in the news report. That's the only thing that is a difference from when you're from like whatever side you pick, because it's like if you chose Cap, it's Cap talking in front of the White House saying how we needed to be in unity, and all the superheroes that fought against the U.S. government get amnesty. If you pick Iron Man, Iron Man's the one that that says the fucking speech, and guess what? All the superheroes that fought against the U.S. government get amnesty and they get registered. That's it.
Okay, so it's kind of like a precursor to Mass Effect 3 or even Revolution 60, where like no matter how you play the game, the endings aren't that different.
Exactly.
I just compared it to Revolution 60. Am I a horrible person?
No. The beast that made that thing is a horrible person.
Okay, but yeah, I was kind of put off by the use of a Civil War for the story. I'm not a fan of the Civil War comic at all. The movie's okay, but
I think like I said, like I said, I know that, but like the way they kind of incorporated the game, for me, like I said, it just felt so right that it's like, you can pick the characters, you can pick your kind of little teams. I mean, there were parts where like you couldn't even, there's some characters in the first playthroughs you couldn't pick as because you chose the other side. So like you couldn't pick as Mr. Fantastic and Iron Man because of the fact that because if you chose to side with Cap, same way you couldn't choose Iron Fist and Luke Cage if you chose Iron Man.
okay.
And the characters would be more. It was more personalized. Where it's like, well, I'm fighting because of this. I'm fighting because of this. So on and so on.
Okay. Yeah, and overall, I guess I didn't really get into the gameplay as much as the first game for some reason. I don't really know why.
Yeah, I think the reason why is because it felt like a Marvel story. It felt like a story about the Marvel universe. Like, because you went from fucking, man, what was the first level? I'm trying to remember now.
In which game, the first or second?
In the first.
Yeah, it was the Helicarrier.
Yeah, you went from the Helicarrier to Murder World to Hell.
To Mephisto's realm.
Yeah, to Mephisto's realm. No, wasn't from Hell to Mephisto's realm. Like you first you're in Hell and then you go directly to Mephisto's realm.
Aren't they the same thing?
It's a specific sect in Hell. Okay, but then like to the Mandarin's lair and so on, and then to Liberia. It's like and also Asgard. Like you're exploring huge segments of the Marvel universe, and like there's different. Oh yeah, and also the Skrull homeworld. Like, and you also have choices, like things that like you didn't even notice at first. Like, oh, if this little thing I could do is going to have like a huge plot point. Like one of the biggest ones is in the first game when you're in the Helicarrier, there's a computer that the deformed super soldiers are trying to destroy. And you can just walk out and leave the room. And it's like, why do I care? And then you find out, oh, this computer was analyzing the legacy virus. The legacy virus, and because of the fact that you saved it, it can now continue. And when the legacy virus starts to hit, guess what? The mutants can now build a vaccine in it. You essentially saved the mutant race. And many of these tiny little side quests that's like, it's almost like it has the theme of every choice has a consequence to it.
Yeah, and then it forces you to choose between saving Nightcrawler and Jean, which is like the most painful video game choice ever.
And then the funniest thing is because then if you had Magneto's like, on the Master Magnet system, right? Snap fingers, both are saved.
Yeah, Magneto wasn't in my version. It was the PlayStation 2.
Well, in the Xbox 360 and the PS3 version,
okay.
Magneto's included, and he just like, yep, I can snap my fingers and save both of them.
Okay, but yeah, I didn't have that option when I played it, so it's like, okay, you got Nightcrawler, who's like the sweetest guy ever, and then you got
who's also now depowered, and he's pretty much saying, no, don't save her. I mean, don't save me, save her.
And then you got Jean, who's a hot redhead, and it's like, save the character I actually didn't like, or the hot redhead. What do I do?
And then we find out if you kill Nightcrawler, Mystique kills Xavier, and the X-Men gets disbanded. And then if Jean dies,
she comes back as the Phoenix. Yeah, and
I
it's
kind
like,
of have more of a feeling that they would survive against the Phoenix than I would against Mystique. How weird is that?
yeah, Phoenix is all talk. I mean, okay, she did technically destroy and like billions of lives in an entire star system, but like to regular humans, she's all talk. But I was gonna say I really liked that game as a kid because it just felt like the roster of characters was just so expansive. It had X-Men, it had Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man. It had the Fantastic Four included. It was just such an expansive roster.
Marvel Knights, and then you also have all the costumes that made them like different characters because you would have Nick Fury, and then they even had the Samuel Jackson version.
Yeah, yeah, and it was so satisfying just like it took in characters from all these segments from the Marvel universe, and it allowed you to just pick and choose from them. And I really love that. And on the flip side of that, a game that I forgot to mention earlier, but we have to talk about, X-Men Destiny. I know you wanted to.
Can I just say I forgot that game even existed until you said it.
Yeah, and I know you wanted to kind of finish up the Marvel games on a positive note. Talk about Ultimate Alliance.
I'll fucking talk about Marvel Heroes and the Lego Marvel games. Fuck you. I am ending the Marvel games on a positive note.
Okay, but first let's talk about Destiny
Marvel for the next 3 weeks. But like I'm going to finish this on a positive note. God damn it.
Okay, that's fine. But first, let's talk about Destiny. So Destiny, it's advertised as an X-Men game with X-Men on the cover and everything. But
no, it's an X-Men game where you choose a character and you choose the destiny of the X-Men. Whereas joining the X-Men or joining Magneto.
Yeah, and I was going to say, it's an X-Men game where I don't think you ever actually play as one of the X-Men. You just choose this original character, and that's the character you're stuck with throughout the whole game. You get to
out of 3 choices.
Yeah, you get to
pre-designed choice, pre-designed characters with three pre-designed powers, which all act the same.
Yeah, and you get to pick up powers from the X-Men with 0 consistency. You can pick up a Quicksilver speed, and then you can also pick up Toad's powers. So you ring around like Quicksilver while like spitting at people like Toad. No consistency there, and it's filled with X-Men. You get to fight them and talk to them, but do you get to actually play as them? No. And
this is how bad the game is, ladies and gentlemen. There's a point where you have to do a mission.
Okay. Okay, Darnell, your mic seems to have cut out. I think we're having some technical difficulties. Just hold on a second, folks. I apologize for this unforeseen technical difficulty. I'll try and keep the stream going until we sort it out. So, where I live, there's this trouble with movie theaters. For some reason, whenever I go to a movie now, there's always someone in the audience who can't keep their mouth shut. And I'm kind of scared to go to movies anymore because I'm afraid of some person a few seats away talking through it. And for some reason, these people tend to be European. Like 2 movie screenings in a row, there was this European couple sitting a few seats away from me who was unable to keep their mouths shut. And I even did ask one of these European couples to stop talking during the movie, and they did for a while, and then they started talking again. And then I went to see the movie Logan earlier this year, and that was even worse because there was this teenage girl a few rows behind me who screamed at every violent moment. Like, she went into this movie, she must have known it was extremely violent, and she literally squealed like a pig every time someone died or someone was stabbed in it. It was so insufferable. And that wasn't all she did. She talked a lot too, but it was the screaming that was the worst. I feel like if I rewatch the movie Logan, I'll have post-traumatic stress related to that viewing experience because of that girl. And when I talk to people in other states and other cities, they don't seem to have this kind of trouble with movie audiences. So I think it's where I live in Florida that movie audiences are just really obnoxious. I'm getting an update on the technical difficulties. We should have the stream back up in a few minutes. My co-host's phone died. He's recharging it. So I suggest everyone take a 5-minute break until we start up again. I'd play some music or something, but I don't want to be hit with a copyright claim. If I know how to do screen shares, I'd show you some nice pictures of kittens or something to keep you occupied. But you'll just have to take a 5-minute break. We are still being affected by technical difficulties. So here's some public domain classical music to keep everything flowing.
Matt, don't torture the audience just because of me.
I'm sorry. It's just that you were out for so long. I wanted to play some music to occupy, but I'm scared of copyright claims, so I used public domain classical.
I know for a fact you're never gonna let me hear the end of it. Sorry, you.
For now, let's just try and get back on track. We were talking.
All right, we were talking about X-Men Destiny, and I was going to say, literally, when you're ever at a moment in the game where you're in the mission, if you play both sides, it is literally almost at the exact same spot. With the only difference is that, let's say, for instance, you have Nightcrawler, in his usual garbs, and if you're doing the Magneto side, it's Toad. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a very poor game. I did not like the characterizations in it. They're all so boring. Iceman is extremely dull. Emma Frost is just incredibly generic. Like, in case you know, Emma Frost is supposed to look like shameless anti-hero. She's just unbelievable, ice cold bitch. Here, she's just kind of like this generic, stoic telepath that got under my nerves. Cyclops was boring. A lot of people think Cyclops is boring. I disagree, but he was boring in this game. So overall, it's if you're an
Magneto was just pretty much the do this because I am overpowering.
Yeah, he's just kind of evil for the sake of evil, which is not Magneto at all. So this video game is not satisfying if you're an X-Men fan. It's not satisfying if you're a gamer. It's not satisfying if you're anything. But that's all I have to say about it.
Ironically, though, you should definitely buy the game because of the fact that the company that went bankrupt for it is calling back for is doing recalls on it. The price will only go up.
Okay.
Protect the game from the Registration Act, people.
Okay, so why don't you quickly tell us about Lego Marvel or something before we move on to Injustice?
All right, fine. If you're a fan of the Lego games or GTA games or just Marvel before they went crazy, pick up preferably the first one. Not that there's anything wrong with the second one, but the first one actually feels like its own actual plot, whereas the second one is more, the movies. The characters are there. Spider-Man web swings on this game actually better than I think he does on most of his actual own titles. Like I said, the Fantastic Four are there, the Avengers. It's fun, it's campy, it's childish. It's actually kind of a fun game.
Okay. I'm not really into Lego anything anymore, so I probably won't be playing that one. But if that's it, let's get on to the Injustice games. So how do you feel about the first Injustice?
I like the comic more than I like the actual fighting game itself.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the first Injustice game. It just feels like a very standard, generic fighting game.
I'm not really a fighting game guy even in general, which is why holy crap, this actually has the plot, and and it's good, and it has a tie-in comic which somehow actually makes the plot look even smaller in comparison.
Yeah, I like fighting games a lot. I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan. I like Soul Calibur, like stuff like that. So compared to those, I think the first Injustice is a bit weak. It's not bad.
You compare the first Injustice to Soul Calibur, where you can make Gandhi.
Yeah, but even by that,
Gandhi in a fighting game, there's no nothing you can ever say is invalid than Gandhi in a fighting game.
You're right. But even by the quality standards of NetherRealm Studios, I think it kind of missed the mark. It was fine as a I played it as like a 17-year-old hardcore DC fan, and I got enough enjoyment out of it. I just don't think there's anything special about it. I think Injustice 2, which is probably I think it's the latest superhero game to be released. I think it's comparatively better. I think it does live up to NetherRealm standards for the most part. I was let down by the story mode. I really hated the focus on Supergirl, who I don't think is a good character at all, especially not in that game. She was very bland and annoying. Overall, the story just felt like a setup for a potential sequel more than its own story. I felt like there were a lot of unresolved plot points. They didn't really resolve anything regarding Batman and Damian, which kind of felt like it was supposed to be a big part of the story. So story was a letdown. Gameplay was mostly good. I feel like it carried over too many moves from the first Injustice, but overall, I feel like the combat flowed a little better. Some people have criticized the AI for being lazy. It goes from being the fights go from pretty easy to spontaneously too difficult, and it's impossible to block. So the AI is a bit flawed. Story's a bit flawed, but overall, it's a lot more fun to play as these characters. And also, some people have criticized the facial animations for being a bit uncanny valley, a bit too unrealistic. I thought they were okay, except for extreme close-ups. I don't think they were distractingly bad, like other people were saying they were, as long as the camera is far enough away from the faces. I like the gear system. I like having just like this wide selection of
Matt likes to play dress up. That's what he's trying to say, ladies and gentlemen.
It's not dress up. It's a gear system. Like video games have had these for decades. It's totally different. I like giving my character the most powerful set of armor possible.
Dude, you make it so that all the women show as much clearance as possible. You deliberately sacrifice functionality for fashion.
All right, first you crashed my screen with your technical difficulties, and now you said that on air. Are you on my side or not?
I'm on my own side.
Okay. It has a very nice gear system. I like being able to, upgrade your character's stats manually as opposed to just leveling up automatically. I thought that was a fun feature. Overall, I think Injustice 2 is probably the best superhero fighting game out there. I'd recommend playing it. But I am very annoyed by the use of Mortal Kombat characters in the DLC. I wish it was just nothing but DC characters. I'm not looking forward to Sub-Zero. I've heard that Raiden is almost definitely going to be a DLC. That really annoys me. It annoys me that they're including Mortal Kombat characters in a rated T video game. Well, I actually think it's mature, but it doesn't have hardcore violence or anything. So they feel really kind of neutered. It's no fun playing as Sub-Zero if you can't do any really violent or graphic moves with him. That's kind of disappointing. But overall, I'm much happier with Injustice 2 than I am with the first Injustice. So,
but dude,
what?
Captain Cold wishes Sub-Zero.
Oh, Captain Cold sucks. He's the worst character in the game. Yeah, it's him and who's the other really crappy character? And also Bane's kind of boring. But Captain Cold is worse. I have no idea. He's only in that game because I guess he's popular on Legends of Tomorrow or some shit. They should not have included him. But I think that's it for games that have already come out. Unless there are any you'd like to bring up.
If you like Diablo-style games, Marvel Heroes Omega, it's good on either the PC or you can try the beta on the PS4, though I would say the PC version is probably better unless you like playing with a console controller.
Mm-hmm. Is that it?
Yeah, it's pretty much... Okay, also another good hooker it is. If you also wanted an actual good, Marvel Team Alliance style 3 kind of game, the plot is actually good enough that it does feel like an Ultimate Alliance game, and if you do actually find friends on the game, not even you bringing your friends, the community is not... It's not SJWs. It's not SJWs. It's actually... And it's not a lot of times like people that are hardcore. Oh, I read every book, but there are people that pretty much, hey, I like playing the game. Let's team up and fight raids and do things like that.
Very nice. So the final topic I wanted to cover is superhero games that have not come out yet. The two I can think of at the moment are Spider-Man for the PlayStation 4 and Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
Infinity.
But is it the third one?
Infinity is the third one.
Okay, so it is the third one. Okay, so first of all, Spider-Man for the PS4. I have not really kept up with this game because I am not a PlayStation owner and I would not be able to play it at the moment. So
You want me to cradle you and help you with your tears?
No, but you can describe your thoughts on the game. To keep the video going.
Similarly to how Homecoming was everything I wanted in a Spider-Man movie, I'm really hoping that this game is everything I wanted in the Spider-Man game. I mean, yeah, there's definitely a huge part of, like, the web swinging and everything that we kind of see in the Spider-Man game, but like a lot of things, like the combat feels way more like he's jumping around, like it's not like the Arkham games, which is very focused on like heavy punches. Like this feels like he's like he's jumping around, he's web swinging, he's he's shooting his webs at people. His punches feel more because of his agility, not because like he weighs like a fucking lumberjack. So on and so on. The web swinging looks like he's like I said, like he's fast. It's not like just zip zip zip. It's just like like you feel like Spider-Man. You feel the rush. And then I even like the fact that the plot of it isn't like Homecoming. It's essentially Peter, Peter, and he's trying to stop a gang war between Wilson Fisk and Mr. Negative. So it's like, hey, that's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, it does sound cool. I look forward to watching Let's Play videos of this game or winning the lottery.
You know that there's going to. But can I just say one thing? You know that there's going to be people, because there's very heavy-handed rumors that Miles is going to be. No, I think that you can confirm Miles is going to be in this game. So you know that there's going to be fucking controversy with this game.
There will. I look forward to watching Let's Plays or winning the lottery and being able to afford more than one gaming console at the same time and playing it. But
ladies and gentlemen, you have to admire his dedication. That his fucking first thing of when he fucking thought of winning the lottery was getting a gaming console and not moving the fuck out of Florida.
I never said it was the only thing I'd do with that money. But
no, that was the first thing I said.
More like the second. The other upcoming superhero game that I know of, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Infinity.
Let's talk about that fucking game.
The good news is I believe it is on both major consoles, so I can play it whenever I wanted. The bad news is it looks like ass.
Yes, that's what I'm going to say. It's like you got the shit end of the stick, because out of the two potential superhero games that are coming out, you got the one that even the fighting game community is like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
this is from a community that accepted Street Fighter V, a game that literally just came out with few characters and no arcade and no story mode, just online multiplayer and just basic couch multiplayer.
But yeah, the two major problems that leap out about Marvel vs. Capcom. First of all, the visuals. It looks extremely bad.
Look up Dante in this game, and oh my god.
I mean, Dante is supposed to be like like the ultimate hot man in video games. He's like one of the few dudes.
He is literally a half-demon.
Who lives up to like Lara Croft in terms of like macho-ness and sex appeal and stuff. And in this game, he looks like a 70-year-old Viggo Mortensen in a white wig. Yeah, he looks like.
Or it's actually like Down syndrome baby cosplaying as Dante.
Yeah, He looks so bad. And like Chun-Li, like if you just look at her face like alongside Street Fighter V, which came out like just a year ago, it's just such a downgrade. I mean, the Street Fighter V visuals got a bit of criticism for looking too cartoony, looking too much like Play-Doh. This is even worse. I don't think any of the I don't like any of the character designs in this game. And then there's the roster. One thing people notice immediately about this roster is the lack of X-Men. Now, if you've been keeping track of what's going on with Marvel and all their media, is that the X-Men have been getting the short end of the stick. We all know that there have been some movie rights issues. Marvel is very, very anti-X-Men nowadays because Fox owns the movie rights and they make all the real money off the X-Men franchise. So they're very biased against mutants in general.
Similarly with the Fantastic Four, which is why they don't have a book.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four too. But and the reason the developers gave for not including X-Men in this game is apparently people don't remember the X-Men, so they felt like it would be safe to completely leave them out of the game and try new characters like Captain Marvel instead. Which is...
He's not joking here, people.
I'm not joking.
Look it up. That is the literal quote. People don't remember the X-Men anymore. He says this less than 6 months after Logan came out.
Yeah, and then they're slotting in Captain Marvel, and it's like, yeah, everyone knows who Captain Marvel is. The character is so shitty that they've given her 4 books in the past 5 years, and all of them have failed financially.
No, and not just that. You're not even missing the big parts. Characters that were already in the game, in the previous games, aren't even back here. Like She-Hulk.
Yeah.
There's a famous joke where it's like, because if she fights Deadpool in Marvel's Capcom 2, and then it's like, no, Marvel's Capcom 3, so this is technically Marvel's Capcom 4. But in Marvel's Capcom 3, if she fights Deadpool, it says, and if there's a Marvel's Capcom 4 Wade, I'll kick your ass there too. And then you look at the roster, she's not there.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, I think, 2 Resident Evil characters in this game, but no X-Men or no She-Hulk.
No, I don't even think there is, because it's only Chris Redfield. Like, I don't think Wesker's in this. I don't think Wesker's in it.
Okay.
Wait, hold on. I'm looking up the roster right now. Keep on talking.
Yeah, because I think we were looking at the roster, and I was like, okay, I know who this guy is, I don't know who they are. And I think there were 2.
No, I know Capcom games, so keep on talking. I'm going to look up the roster for both games.
Okay, but needless to say, I am not looking forward to it. I wish this one was a PlayStation exclusive, so I would be unable to play it, and also it would make less money. Captain Marvel is in this game, but no X-Men, no Fantastic Four. I don't really know what else to say about it. There's not much to say. The fighting looks meh. It looks like a less dynamic version of Street Fighter.
Okay, so is this it? No, that's. I'm trying to look for it, but.
Me too.
And like I said. Okay, so confirmed so far to 16. Go away.
I think I found it.
Okay.
I see the roster. Okay, unless this is fake, it's some Resident Evil looking mutant, some dude.
Okay, no, wait, okay, I found it. So on the Marvel side, we have Black Panther, Captain America, Captain Marvel, Doctor Strange, Gamora, Hawkeye, Hulk, Iron Man, Nova, Rocket Raccoon, Thanos, Thor, Hulk.
Yawn.
And then for Capcom, we got Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins, Chris Redfield from Resident Evil games, Chun-Li from Street Fighter, Dante from Devil May Cry, Mega Man, Morgan from Darksiders, Nathan Spencer from the Bionic Commando games, Ryu from Street Fighter, Sigma from Mega Man, Strider, and Zero from Mega Man as well. And also, hold on, yeah, Sigma is from Mega Man. So once again, you kind of tend to notice something about the characters they show for the Marvel side, Matt.
They, for some reason, they correspond with, who's shown up in the movies or is getting a movie. I mean, I guess that could be a coincidence.
I think Nova's the only character that is not related to the movies at all.
Yep. And so there's like 3 Mega Man characters in this game, did you say?
What?
You said there were like 3 Mega Man characters in this?
Yes, there is Mega Man X, Sigma, and Zero.
Yeah, like remember earlier.
But I mean, to be perfectly honest, Sigma is supposed to be like Sigma and Ultron are supposed to be the 2 main villains. So, okay, so of course you have Sigma, Mega Man has always appeared in Marvel vs. Capcom games, as well as Zero. So it's like, at least they're congruent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and also Black Panther's DLC.
Oh, DLC.
So, once pre-order DLC, so scratch that, folks, off your list of the total characters so far.
Yeah. You have to pay money for the 1 black character in the game. That's gonna piss some people off. But last.
Well, we've been buying black guys for a long time. How's this any different?
Yeah, that was really politically correct. My last comments on this game is like I talked.
Dude. Our second episode, Jonathan McIntosh, and we've said so many horrible things up until then. You really think our show is politically correct?
Oh no, I didn't say horrible things. You say all the horrible things. But my last comment about Marvel vs. Capcom, I spoke earlier about how great it was as a younger person playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance and having just like characters from all these corners of the Marvel universe in the roster. Marvel vs. Capcom is the exact opposite. It feels so insular, so sterile, and so generic, just based on the lack of variety. It's just basically MCU, the game, which I think is very disappointing. Those are all my thoughts on the game. I don't have any other subjects in mind. Do you have any closing statements or games you'd like to bring up last minute before we wrap up?
My lips are sealed.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you for listening, everyone. I'm very happy with how most of the stream turned out. We'll have a new episode up in a couple weeks, hopefully. Have a good day, everyone.
Oh, wait. Actually, one thing I will say. After reading, you know how bad Marvel vs. Capcom is going to be when Kotaku is praising it.
That sounds pretty horrible. So, if that's it, once again, thank you for listening. Have a good day, everyone.